often in the shorter form of the game, we refer to the batting side as starting and finishing well. But you have to look at it from the bowling point of view, and that's exactly what India did in the second T20 International. They started well and they finished excellently to make sure that it's a total that's well within reach, at least as far as history is concerned. Let's confirm exactly what New Zealand have done after winning the toss and batting first. We were talking about 244 having been chased down here. Well, 158 for 8 in 20 overs. Initially, it didn't look they'd get to 140 after they were 50 for 4. Then Colin the Grandhomme with an excellent 50. But post his dismissal, New Zealand losing their way again. India bowling well to finish with excellent from Khalil Ahmed, 2 for 27 in his 4. Good last over, which meant that 159 is India's target. The lowest total ever defended at Eden Park, Auckland is 166 by South Africa 7 years ago. So
I told you. There's only one way to ensure New Zealand don't score enough, and that is that I claim that they score high. So I said 198. They made, but your point is absolutely valid. You take out the Colin the Grandhomme innings. They're 50 for 4 when Colin the Grandhomme comes into bat. 60 for 4 after 10 overs. They had 60 in the next 5 to get to 120. And after he gets out at 127.
Yeah.
And in the next 4 overs, they make 30 runs. That's it, 31 runs in the next 4 overs. So you're absolutely right. India's bowl, top and tail, India were excellent.
Yes,
I think that number in the first 6 overs has been the defining factor as far as Indian bowling has been concerned. You know, once you have that 3 wickets in the first 6 overs, more often than not, you have set the platform to win that match. Whether you are bowling first or bowling second, I think that column really matters. And after that, even though there was a partnership of Ross Taylor and Grandhomme, it's just that you always know as bowling side you have a chance to get back. And from New Zealand's point of view, someone just needed to go through and through, to get that total of 180, 190 probably. But I think Indian bowlers on the whole once again have responded well after average game last game. So that's something which again has been very consistent, isn't it? If you had a tough day, it's about how you back it up, and that's something which this Indian team with the bat and ball has been doing pretty well.
So with the ball, erase and reboot both have happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
4 for 37 in those last 4 overs and a bit for New Zealand. But in terms of the bowlers, while Khalil bowled excellently at the end, you'd have to look at Krunal Pandya's figures. We've got an interesting sidelight to that as well. But first, overall, let's try and assess his performance. 4 overs for 28 runs, despite a huge 19-run last over. Picked up those 3 wickets. One, of course, has been a talking point. But let's take you forward and tell you about Krunal Pandya in the 4th over and in the final over. And these are the numbers we've put together for you. And have a look at this. 16, 17, 13, 17 and 18. Those are what he's conceded in the 4th over. Now you might turn around and say, yes, as his bowling progresses, you're getting towards that slog phase of the innings, but it's not necessarily always been that.
I wonder whether people realize that the ball is slanting in, but by now he's played enough cricket around the world and for Mumbai Indians, apart from playing for India, for people to understand that he's largely that kind of bowler. Today, 4 overs, 3 for 28, you take that 10 days out of 10. I mean, you'll be overjoyed. You'll shake hands and pat him on the back and give him a piece of chocolate at the end. 4 overs, 3 for 28, you take that. But that is, I wonder, can it be that he's just trying to finish that 4th over quickly, that he's trying to bowl safe, that he's trying to switch a little. I've bowled 3 overs well, let me just slip the 4th over out, because that often goes for runs, doesn't it?
I don't think that's a scenario here, because if you look at those numbers as well, like you would not find a pattern. Yes, the last over has been going for runs, but it was not dependent on how many wickets he has taken early on. Like today, he has picked up wickets in the first 3 overs. Still, he went for runs. There are days when he's not picked up wicket and gone for runs. I think it's something, if we have to look at it in terms of stack up of the overs, maybe something from that angle can be looked at. Yeah. How you use him, whether you're using him all 4 overs together, or what kind of scenario you can squeeze in that 1 over. So I think the stack up can matter, because he's been bowling in the power play. When you have 1 or 2 overs bowled in the power play, you have that luxury of spacing those overs out as well. So that's something maybe team management can look
He
at.
bowled 4 on the trot last game also, I think.
Yeah, especially when you have one more bowling option. Especially when you have someone like Vijay Shankar who can give you 1 over. So it's always interesting to see how a captain goes about using his resources. And whether some kind of feedback has gone in terms of the pattern which usually develop. Like you've seen it with many bowlers.
I wonder if
you've seen it with Umesh as well. Another example which comes
Yes.
to my mind is Umesh, who's been bowling fantastically in the first 3 overs, but that 1 over or one of the 4 overs been on the expensive side.
I wonder if Rohit looks upon Krunal Pandya as a 5th bowler and saying, look, he's bowling well, let me get the 5th bowler's overs out. Whereas I think he's the 4th bowler and Hardik is the 5th bowler in this team. I wonder. I mean, we're just trying to trying to find a link to the numbers.
No one who knows the
There may
two
be
brothers
none
better than Rohit.
absolutely.
Amount of T20 cricket they play together. He'll have situations where he'll be using him in a certain way. Other days it'll be different. So he's had enough situations to play around to know that I'm not going to look at numbers like this. If he's on the roll, yes, the previous over from Chahal, Grandhomme had decided he was going to go for it.
Look, now there's something to watch in the 3rd game. How does Krunal go in the 4th over? Because now there's a pattern developing, but I don't think the pattern is strong enough to draw firm conclusions that he's a bad 4th overs bowler. But let's see how it goes along. There's a pattern developing that maybe an analyst or captain will just have a word with him about sun tera 4th over zyada ja raha hai. But let's wait to see how it develops.
Now, no matter what happened in this particular innings, the 20 overs of New Zealand innings, the big talking point, as always, will be that controversial dismissal of Daryl Mitchell. That's the time the slide really started for New Zealand, and umpiring comes into focus at times when you don't want it to, but in this case it was the 3rd umpire upstairs who was more in focus than the on-field umpires. It looked like a fairly routine LBW given by the on-field umpire. It was talked about a lot in Cricbuzz Combox, but just to take it forward a little bit, we've had a little more time to think about it, and I think it's the whole protocol issue that's coming into the picture. Is it about going back to the on-field umpire because he is the all-pervading, like a soft signal when you have a fielding issue?
I think first thing we need to do is take emotion out and take your sides out. Don't see whether it's a New Zealand batsman who's got out or an India batsman who's got out, because very often our conclusion on whether a player is out or not out is colored by which side we are supporting. And so if an Indian batsman gets out, we tend to say it's not out. If a New Zealand batsman gets out, we tend to say it's out. So
or Saurashtra, Karnataka.
That was terrible. So first you need to take those out and then look at it objectively. So if you looked only on hotspot, you'd say out straight away. Wasn't there one angle? There was one angle that suggested that there was a little deviation. Now imagine you are the 3rd umpire. Right? The law is an ass sometimes because you have to follow the law exactly as it is stated, which is why Jason Holder's got to miss out the 3rd test. It looks very silly, but that is the law. There's nothing you can do about it. Now, if according to the law, the umpire says, look, one means of redressal, one tool is showing not out, one tool is showing out. Now what do? Do I say, no, hotspot is correct, Snicko is wrong, and overturn? Or as Zach said in Cricbuzz Combox, there has to be conclusive evidence to overturn. If one tool is saying out, one tool is not out, maybe saying it's not conclusive.
And that, I think, is a conclusive evidence, is what we talk about even when it's a fielding issue about a close catch. If the soft signal is out, then you have to have conclusive evidence to show that it indeed hit the ground. If you don't, it stays out. Same with the other way around.
I think the soft signal, that's something which is very important. And in this case, the batsman was given out. So you got to have a conclusive evidence against the decision to change the decision. So that's something which is very important. And so I was debating the same point. Like if the on-field umpire had given it not out, an Indian team would have reviewed this decision, it would have stayed not out. And that's the logical call which everyone needs to make peace with. Yes, in today's scenario, it was a New Zealand batsman who was given out, hard done. But Indian bowlers also would have felt hard done if the decision was not out and if they had reviewed it, because the Snicko was saying there was no edge, and the hotspot was saying there was definitely some part of the bat been nicked. So that's something which which you have to live with the whole system. So at times earlier, when there was no DRS system, you would complain about the umpiring decisions being wrong. But even if there are review systems in place, the debate and the bigger and the larger debate has been this, that when there is a review system in place, why are we still facing these kind of scenarios and situations?
But there's just one thing to finish it off, which is that hotspot has been wrong many times, especially when it's too bright, when the evening sun is coming down, when the rays are coming down. That happens when it doesn't pick it up.
Also,
but the Snicko can also be wrong, as we saw with Hanuma Vihari's
case. Up a wrong
case.
Sound.
Yeah, as we saw in the Hanuma Vihari case in Sydney, Snicko was wrong because, Snicko wasn't wrong. The interpretation was wrong because his foot had moved, the ball was well over. So the third umpire has got to look into all this. And as Hemant Buch, who directs a lot, responded to one of my tweets, the volume is turned up for the umpire as well. So the umpire also has the actual real-time sound as the ball is passing the bat. So the umpire had enough to play with. That was a considered judgment.
And the only thing with this call was that I felt the third umpire was rushed. I think he didn't take enough time to make his decision. He had the luxury of using, especially when one decision was, when one suggestive system was supporting the dismissal in reversal mode, and then one was not. In this case, you have to take your time to find if there is more evidence at your pursual to make a call. You had one Snicko going against, and hotspot going for the edge. So maybe he could have looked at some other angles. Maybe he would have asked the broadcaster for more footage. To drive that conclusive.
Try to see the deviation
evidence, because the Snicko, also the part which was taken, the bat might have brushed the pad as well to suggest that a hotspot, because it's just a technology which can be tampered in a very game time scenario, not literally, but if the bat has brushed the pad and that spot was there in the exact same spot, it might be suggesting that the ball has nicked the bat, but the actual case was not.
I think it's also a very peculiar situation sometimes where the people in the control room, and we've all been in television control rooms, actually know whether it's out or not out, but they cannot tell the third umpire that. So in the Hanuma Vihari case, for example, everybody in the control room knew that Vihari was not out, but they could not tell the third umpire, look, here is evidence to suggest that it is not out, because they cannot offer things to the third umpire. The third umpire has to ask for it. So Zach's point, the third umpire could have asked for more, in which case maybe they would have offered a little bit more. But in this case, I think he just had to be absolutely convinced. He needed overwhelming proof, and he didn't have it.
Yeah, I think in conclusion, we can just say one thing. It was, yes, the third umpire needs to be taking more time about it, but the real reason DRS is there is a tool for the two on-field umpires to eliminate howlers, and hence, if there's a situation where there's a conflict, it means doubt, and doubt goes back to the on-field umpires.
But when technology gets it wrong, you tend to talk about it much more than when the eyes or ears get it wrong.
Yep. Well, always a talking point, but we'll leave it there for the moment. We'll come back to on-field action, as it were, which is, of course, the run chase, which suggests, with the 166 we mentioned, the lowest score defended successfully by South Africa. 158 for 8, 159 to win. India will be pretty happy with that in terms of a total chase.
Very happy. They'll be very happy with that. I mean, they'll tell themselves, if we can't get 160, then we don't deserve to win.
Rohit Sharma, one person will be in focus. Not the greatest last 3 innings in a T20 international. His captaincy record suggests that, but again, erase button for him. Start afresh.
He'll be very keen. He'll be very keen to make sure that this game is in the bag. The momentum is certainly with the Indian team at this point. You would expect that they will be pumped with the fact that they're chasing about 30-35 runs short. So the bowlers have done a good job. It's up to the batsmen now to go and make sure that the job is done.
I'm so happy he said, the expert said 30-35 short, because if they'd got those 30-35, then someone's prediction would have been right.
Yeah, well, we weren't even discussing the predictions right now, because well, it's not fair to say that I was the closest, because I won't take that one.
Very subtle.
I would not take it.
Subtle.
I won't take it.
Short of holding banners saying I came closest, you've done everything in that sentence.
But I've said I will not take it. Just like we didn't take that third umpire review, we won't take it. The fact remains it's 159. India should be favourites. We'll look for what Rohit Sharma does early on. It should be an exciting finish for India to level the series and then to go on to get that 11th unbeaten T20 international series and get level with Pakistan. Cricbuzz Combox will be back in the 10th over. Will we have more controversy to talk about? We hope not. We'd like a clean finish to this game.